Departing from ECOWAS is a matter of national sovereignty. If a nation decides that ECOWAS has departed from its mandate, then it has a right to leave. ECOWAS cannot dictate to sovereign nations and call that a negotiation. The Alliance of Sahelian States must prepare for war, because that is what this 6-month extension period is about. ECOWAS is under pressure from its slave masters to invade, but they are caught between their masters and their own people who are not in favor of an invasion. It is now that the speech Kwesi Pratt gave in Niamey a few weeks ago comes into perspective.
We are here today to make it plain, to make a very, very loud declaration that we stand with the people of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, and there's no shaking. We are here today to proclaim loudly that the Akufo-Addos and Ouattaras do not speak for us. They speak for themselves and the imperial masters. We speak for ourselves, and we say loudly today that our stand is with the people in the Sahel who have formed the Alliance of Sahel States. That's where we stand. Comrades and friends, as we speak, this very moment, the NATO countries have asked 3 countries in West Africa, Ghana, La Côte d'Ivoire, and Benin, to provide them with space to establish drone bases. Now you know that the United States of America had its largest drone base in Niger for many years. How did that benefit the people of Niger? How did that improve the economic conditions of the people of Niger? They are asking for these drone bases in order to prepare to wage war on the innocent people of Niger, to wage war on the innocent people of Burkina Faso. We will not allow it. The resistance against foreign military presence on every African space will continue unabated until final victory is achieved. Listen, drone bases are not set up to produce cassava. Drone bases are not set up to educate our children, to teach them literature, to teach them history, to teach them science, and so on. Drone bases are for killing. They are for war.
ECOWAS is making it look as though the 6-month extension is about free travel and other regional benefits. It is more than that, but the attack has to be a surprise. So they are not giving the details of the ultimatum. When you negotiate, both sides come with their issues and see how best to resolve them. The reasons the AES gave for exiting the regional bloc were clear. Firstly, AES was concerned that Western powers such as France were exercising undue influence over the economies of its former colonies on the continent, a fact well articulated by former AU Ambassador Dr. Arikana Chiombori. AES member states believe that France is now dictating to the regional bloc to attack its union. The second reason the AES gave for exiting the regional bloc was that constitutional coups are not being dealt with to the level that military coups are being dealt with, that there's a double standard here, such as Ouattara's extension of his stay in power. Even Bola Tinubu, current chair of ECOWAS, came to power under dubious circumstances. His whole identity is fraudulent. How can he dictate to military leaders who are college graduates and beloved by their people? We have not seen a frank discussion on these issues yet. ECOWAS has sidelined these issues and has not addressed them. Instead, these nations have been mandated to return or else. Why not address the issues? Because if a frank discussion is held, Tinubu will be required to give up his seat, as will Ouattara and a few others, if the standards of democracy are to be applied across a level playing field. The hypocrisy of the whole issue is glaring. The member states of the AES are sovereign nations. The progress these military leaders have made in their countries, most ECOWAS leaders cannot boast of. Departure from ECOWAS is a matter of national sovereignty. And if democracy is the will of the people, then the people of the AES must be allowed to do as they have chosen. ECOWAS membership was never intended to subvert or replace national sovereignty. But if ECOWAS insists on going to war for France and its claim to Niger's uranium, then it becomes a continent-wide conflict. That is because there will even be countries within ECOWAS that are not in favor of going to war with the Alliance of Sahelian States, such as Liberia or Ghana under its new president. On top of that, if those nations in ECOWAS that are on the payroll of the West insist on going to war with the Alliance of Sahelian States, and they cannot handle it independently, they will be expecting other African nations to back the move. They will be expecting the African Union to back the move. And that will force every nation on this continent to pick a side. Because a group of African nations cannot be on fire, and other nations down south are waking up to cook their sadza every morning like nothing is happening. This will force every African nation on this continent to pick a side. And it will plunge the entire continent into conflict. And that's what your enemies really want, isn't it? They are aware that this may not end up an open and shut invasion like they tell you it's going to be. They're telling you that it's going to be an open and shut invasion. Here, take $100 million, invade the Sahel, and hand it back over to us. It'll be easy. You know that these battles are never easy. You cannot underestimate men of strong will. And so when it turns out to drag on, like we've seen it drag on in Ukraine, then what? Then the entire continent gets plunged into conflict. And that's exactly what they want. Because while the continent is at war, then they can get back in there and be stealing natural resources, getting them out for free. The United Nations at the forefront of that theft, bringing in aid and carrying natural resources. But if ECOWAS insists on going to war for France and its claim to Niger's uranium, you all know how we do it here on this channel. I will be going to war for the Alliance of Sahelian States, and ECOWAS and its slave masters will be defeated. I will leave you to enjoy the rest of Kwesi Pratt's speech. Please pay keen attention. Good afternoon.
Our need now is to make sure that our people have access to potable water. Our need now is to make sure that we defeat these senseless jihadists that they support. That is our need. Our need is to use the resources we get from the exploitation of our gold, from the exploitation of our diamonds, from the exploitation of uranium and so on, to build that new Africa, in which every citizen is entitled to clean water, to build that new Africa in which every child can go to school, to build that new Africa in which everybody who can work will have a job. That is our responsibility. And it is because of this responsibility that we insist on waging a full-scale agitation, struggle, and protest against the erection of foreign military bases on African soil. Comrades and friends, I come from Ghana. I come from Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's Ghana. And I have seen the type of military cooperation agreement that they have signed with the United States of America. Under this agreement, when U.S. soldiers come into our country and they kill the people of Ghana, you cannot take them to court. Under this agreement, when U.S. soldiers come to Ghana and they destroy the property of the Ghanaian people, we cannot take them to court. Under this agreement, U.S. soldiers, when they come to Ghana for operations, use our frequencies for free. Under this agreement, U.S. soldiers can walk in and out of Ghana as if they are walking in and out of their bedrooms. They don't need even passports to enter Ghana. Under this agreement, we have given them 1 out of 3 terminals of our airport for their operations. This must stop. This must stop. And it will only stop if we mobilize ourselves and if we continue to resist and if we continue to show solidarity with those who are achieving victory in these areas. You, the people of Niger, under the leadership, your current leadership, have managed to dismantle those military bases in your country. I will salute you. And we will learn from it. And we will do the same. You are showing us the way. I recall that on 6 March 1957, when Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah declared the independence of Ghana, he made a profound statement. He said to the world that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa. Today, we stand here in this beautiful city of Niamey, the capital of Niger, and we make a similar declaration. The patriotic revolutions in Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali will be meaningless unless they are linked with the total liberation of the African continent from the clutches of new colonialism. Those revolutions will be absolutely meaningless if it doesn't lead to the realization of the aspirations which were expressed in the final resolution of the 5th Congress of the Pan-African Movement in Manchester. And that is why we stand shoulder to shoulder with you. We stand shoulder to shoulder with you because our destinies are linked. Our destinies are inseparable. We will die together or live together. And I believe that we will live together rather than die together. We will live together in victory. Comrades and friends, the path to African unity is straight. The path to African unity is very clear. The path to African unity is certain. It is a path of resistance against oppression in all its forms. It is the path of resistance against oppression, whether it expresses itself as colonial domination or racism. It is the path to freedom. It is the path to liberty of all peoples and all the working people of the world will stand up, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, in order to bring about that victory. That victory is inevitable, it is coming, it will come, and we will defeat them. We have been told time and again that if we want to develop, we have to copy France. We have been told time and again that if we want to develop, we have to copy Britain. We have to copy Germany. We have to copy the United States of America. But that option is simply not available to us and to stop the dreaming. That option is not available to us because the process of accumulation, which led to the current state of development of the Western countries, involved enslaving other people. It involved the transatlantic slave trade. It involved colonizing other people. And it involves today's new colonial exploitation. I'd like to pose this question. Those of us in this room, if we are to follow the example of France, which people can we capture today as slaves to work for us without pay for hundreds of years? That option is simply closed. If you are to follow the example of Britain today, which people are we going to colonize? Which people are we going to colonize if you are to follow the example of Britain? That option is also closed. If you are to follow France, whose people are we going to get and insist that they place all of their foreign reserves in a central bank? That option is also closed. There's only one option before us as African people and as peoples of the world fighting to liberate themselves from capitalism. And that option is self-reliant development in cooperation with other countries like us, other countries which are victims of capitalism and which are victims of imperialism. That is the only option available to us. Today, we are in Niamey, the capital of Benin. And we are here. We have not been tear gassed. We have not been arrested by the police. As a matter of fact, the government, led by Brigadier General Chami, has made it possible by placing excellent facilities at disposal to think about Africa, to act about Africa, and to move forward together. We cannot be against people and organizations who stand with us. We cannot do that simply because some people are fixated on some forms of government. We are being told that this is a military regime. And because it's a military regime, we have to fight it. We are being told that we are not in the era of multi-party democracy and therefore hell must break loose. Comrades and friends, look at those who are talking to us. Look at them. Look at what they do. You all know that the United States of America is dominated by two political parties. No matter who wins, they will invade Iraq. No matter who wins, they will bomb Afghanistan to us. No matter who wins, they will impose sanctions on Cuba. No matter who wins, they will supply weapons for the genocide which is being committed in Gaza. Those are not two parties. That's a one-party state with two faces. They should stop lecturing us about multi-party democracy. Today, we need 128% of total national revenue to service debt, pay our debt, and to pay public sector salaries. That is what the IMF and the World Bank have done to us. Et c'est là où nous sommes arrivés aujourd'hui. What the IMF and the World Bank have done to us is that they have destroyed all the things that Nkrumah did in order to safeguard our future. Since February 24, 1966, 400 factories built by the Nkrumah government have been totally destroyed. To the extent that today, we import toothpicks and drinking water. All the industries have been destroyed. Those who do not know how death looks like sometimes can look at sleep and it will teach them a few lessons about death. We've been through it. Since 1983, the Ghanaian national currency has been devalued by 26,000%. Can you bring your head around it? 26,000% is the rate of the devaluation of the Ghanaian cedi since 1966. We would not take that path to destruction. The African people do not want to take that path to destruction. The African people amongst themselves will struggle, will discuss, will find ways of coming out of the senseless poverty that has been imposed upon us by colonialism and by today's colonialism. Today, something exceedingly significant is happening in Niger. Something very, very important is happening in Niger. One year ago, Niger was one of the 4 poorest countries in the world. Today, Niger is the fastest growing economy in the world. Something is happening. Learning the important lessons of what is happening here, they decided to gang up, to wage a war of aggression against Niger, to attack Nigerians, to kill them. It would never happen. And even if it happens, they will fail for sure. It would not happen because the progressive and revolutionary forces in these countries are not asleep. And we are working day and night to prevent them from waging a senseless war on Niger. It will never happen. It is significant that even the Parliament of Nigeria, which is not known for its revolutionary acumen, voted against Nigeria participating in a senseless war in Niger. The government of Ghana did not even have the courage to ask Parliament for approval to wage war on Niger. We know that they did not do it because they know the consequences which will be visited upon them by the progressive forces in their countries. And I'd like to assure you, nobody would attack Niger. And if they do attack Niger, all of us will be in the trenches fighting against them until final victory is achieved. Africa must unite. And Africa must unite under the banner of scientific socialism. Thank you.